She walked into the cafe with confidence, every step quiet but powerful, every eye in the room following her. The waiter didn't see a professional woman or a potential client. He only saw her skin. The smirk came first, then the accidental spill, hot coffee across her white blouse, her dignity burning with it. But she didn't yell. She didn't flinch. She just stared at him, calm, steady, unshaken. Because what he didn't know was that the very cafe he worked in belonged to her. And when the truth came out, every person in that room learned a painful lesson about respect. Her name was Maya Carter, a 41-year-old businesswoman from Atlanta who'd built everything she had from scratch. She wasn't born into wealth or privilege, just perseverance. Years of long nights, small wins, and quiet sacrifices had shaped her into the woman she'd become. Confident, calm, and quietly powerful. Maya had spent 2 decades turning rundown spaces into thriving community cafes, safe places for people to meet, study, or simply feel seen. Her dream wasn't just to make money. It was to create something that welcomed everyone, no matter their skin color or background. And after months of negotiations, she'd just acquired a small, historic cafe downtown, one that needed a new start. That morning, she arrived early to observe how things ran before making any big changes. No one there knew who she was. Not the staff, not the manager, and certainly not the young waiter behind the counter who barely looked up when she walked in. She liked it that way. Sometimes you learn the truth about people when they think you're just another customer. Maya sat quietly by the window, watching how employees treated guests. The energy was polite, at least for some. But when a group of black teenagers walked in, their welcome was colder, shorter. She noticed the difference immediately. The hesitation, the tone, the looks. It wasn't new to her. She'd seen it her whole life, from boardrooms to boutiques. Still, she smiled, jotting notes in her small leather book. She wanted to understand the culture before stepping in. But what she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that this morning would turn into a public test of everything she stood for. Because within minutes, one careless act, disguised as an accident, would reveal just how deep prejudice ran, even in a place she owned. The cafe was filling up fast, sunlight spilling across polished floors, and the soft hum of conversation blending with the smell of roasted beans. Maya sat quietly in the corner, unnoticed, watching the rhythm of the morning. Customers came and went, but her eyes stayed on the staff, how they moved, how they greeted, how they served. That's when she noticed him. The young waiter with the neat apron and tired eyes. He smiled easily at some guests, mostly the ones who looked like him, but when it came to others, the warmth disappeared. It wasn't loud or obvious. It was subtle, a slower service here, a colder tone there, a hint of irritation that only showed when the customers were black. Maya had seen that look too many times before. Not just in service, but in boardrooms, at banks, even at charity galas. The silent assumption of less than. She didn't need to confront him yet. She just watched, letting the truth reveal itself. Then it happened. A white couple entered, well-dressed, chatting casually. The waiter's posture changed instantly. "Good morning! Right this way," he said with an easy grin. He offered them the best seat in the cafe, right by the window. Minutes later, Maya stood to stretch and made her way to the counter for a refill. The same waiter turned toward her with barely concealed impatience. "Can I help you?" His tone was flat, eyes barely meeting hers. "Yes," Maya said softly. "Just a black coffee, please." He didn't move right away, just stared, as if expecting her to add a please or justify herself. When he finally turned to pour, his movements were sharp, careless. The cup hit the counter harder than it needed to. Hot coffee splashed over the rim, dripping toward her hand. She stepped back, startled but calm. He didn't apologize. Instead, he sighed. Maybe next time, order something less plain. The words hung in the air like smoke. Casual, cruel, and cutting. Maya didn't respond. She simply dabbed the spill with a napkin, her composure steady but her chest tight. Around them, conversations quieted. A few customers looked up, sensing the tension. The white couple by the window exchanged awkward glances, but said nothing. Maya walked back to her seat, her heart beating slow and heavy. It wasn't about the coffee. It was about everything that moment represented. How people like him felt bold enough to disrespect someone like her because they assumed she couldn't hold power. But what he didn't know was that she did. She owned the papers, the property, the name on the lease, and soon she would own this moment too. She sat in silence, letting time stretch. The manager appeared briefly, greeting other guests, but no one approached her. When she looked down, the dark stain on her blouse had already dried, a quiet reminder of what just happened. That's when she made her decision. No confrontation, no shouting match. She would do what she always did. Let the truth reveal itself. So she stayed. She watched him continue his shift, laughing with some, ignoring others. She noted every detail, the dismissive tone, the careless manners, the uneven treatment. By noon, she stood up and walked to the counter one last time. The same waiter barely looked up. "Leaving already?" he said. "Didn't think you'd last long." Maya smiled, small, calm, almost kind. "Oh, I'll be back," she said. Her tone wasn't a threat. It was a promise, one that would soon flip everything he thought he knew about the world he stood in. Because the next time Maya Carter walked into that cafe, she wouldn't be a customer. She'd be the boss. 2 days later, the cafe buzzed with the same morning routine: chatter, clinking cups, and the soft rhythm of espresso machines. The waiter moved through it all with his usual swagger, smirking as he passed familiar faces. To him, that black woman from earlier was just another forgettable customer. Until the door opened. Maya walked in again. This time, she wasn't in her simple blouse and jeans. She wore a sharp, tailored suit, confidence radiating from every step. The air shifted. Even the conversations around her softened into murmurs. The same waiter looked up, his smirk faltering for just a moment before he straightened. "Back. For another plain coffee?" he said with a forced grin, the arrogance returning. But before Maya could reply, the cafe manager hurried out from the back, nearly tripping over himself. "Ms. Carter! I didn't expect you so soon." Every head turned. The waiter blinked, confused. "Ms. Carter?" The manager nodded quickly. "Yes, this is Maya Carter, the new owner of Riverside Café. She officially took over the business last week." The words hit like a dropped tray. The waiter froze, his fake smile collapsing as realization sank in. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. Maya's voice was calm, clear, steady. "I was here the other day, observing how things run. I wanted to see how my staff treated everyone, not just the people who look like them." The silence that followed was suffocating. The waiter's face turned pale as the memory of his sneer, his tone, and that accident played back in his mind. Around them, customers whispered, eyes darting between him and Maya. She looked at him, not with anger, but with quiet disappointment. "This cafe is supposed to represent community," she said softly. "Respect, kindness, and fairness. You showed me the opposite." Her words weren't loud, but they cut deeper than any shouting ever could. The waiter swallowed hard, his voice cracking. I didn't know," Maya interrupted gently. "That's the problem. You never try to know." And with that, the balance of power in that cafe shifted forever. The days that followed were quiet inside the cafe, quieter than usual. The energy had shifted, not just because of the new ownership, but because people had seen something they couldn't unsee. Maya didn't fire the waiter immediately. Instead, she asked him to stay for a staff meeting that Friday. When the team gathered, she stood before them, not as a boss demanding respect, but as a woman teaching a lesson that needed to be heard. She spoke calmly, but her words carried weight. "This cafe will be more than just a place that serves coffee," she said. "It will be a place that serves dignity. Because if we can't treat each other with respect across this counter, then everything we build here means nothing." The waiter sat in silence, staring down at his hands. For the first time, he looked smaller. Not because of punishment, but because of realization. Maya didn't need to humiliate him. The truth already had. By the end of the meeting, she offered him a choice. You can leave, or you can learn. But either way, this place will never operate on bias again. He stayed, and over the next few weeks, something remarkable happened. The cafe changed. People noticed. The energy softened, the service warmed, and the same customers who once felt unseen began to feel welcome. Word spread through the neighborhood that Riverside Cafe had new ownership and a new heart. As Maya watched the place thrive, she knew it wasn't just about one rude waiter or one spilled cup of coffee. It was about something far deeper. How easy it is to forget humanity when you see skin before soul. And for anyone who watched it happen, the lesson was clear. Racism doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, through tone, through silence, through a coffee cup placed just a little too hard on the counter. The question is, how many more accidents will it take before we stop pretending not to hear it? Because change doesn't begin when we see injustice. It begins when we finally refuse to ignore it. Don't miss more powerful real-life stories. Hit subscribe now.